Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Dear Arnel. It's a weekly video log where I, Arnel Tanyag with Tanyag and Company, share what's going on with me, the business, certain topics that I believe is going to be helpful for the business owner or the business professional. So we're on week 7. People ask me, Arnel, why do you do a video log? Well, number one, you got to let people know about you and what's new. I believe that people only remember you from the last experience. So if they remember you as, like for myself, I used to be the B&I director. So in their mind, they see the B&I director when they talk to you. Or I was the guy who would, people still think I work with a lot of real estate agents. Very rare. Very rare on helping grow their business. Now, they may want to talk to me about referrals and stuff like that because I do have that expertise, but I don't coach much real estate agents. So it's just letting them know what's going on, a little bit about me and what's new. Then I also like to share my vast life experiences, personally, professionally, over the last 25 years. One of the things that I'm a veteran, Desert Storm, did 10 years in the Navy as a 8404 corpsman. So I was a combat medic. I was with the Amtrak unit, and I was a weekend warrior. So I did inactive reserves for the Navy. Did it for 10 years. And that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into being a corpsman to work on a clinic, maybe Boone Clinic or Portsmouth Naval Hospital. Ended up going to field medical school in Camp Lejeune. I tell you, you're in field medical school, you have to learn how to be a medic. We used to run anywhere from 3 miles to 12 miles. We would hump with a backpack with 45 and 65 pounds. And think about it, I'm less than 5 foot, 5'5", and I have a pack of 45, 55 pounds. If you know anything about Camp Lejeune, this was in the winter, it rains down in North Carolina. And when it rains down in Camp Lejeune, I'll tell you what, there are mud puddles, mud holes that when we used to go humping, but hiking with all our gear, oh my Lord, you'd fall in that mud pits, mud holes. Sometimes it would be up to your neck. We'd have people full, and all of us were medics. The instructors, half of them were Marines and half of them were field medics. I mean, you literally run 6, 7, 12 miles a day. I mean, I'll tell you what, when I was in Camp Lejeune going through, field medical school, so I went to boot camp San Diego. I went to corpsman school in San Diego. Then I got shipped to Camp Lejeune and did field medical school. I tell you what, I was in the best shape in running. You literally ran every single day. I'm Asian. We usually don't run. So I was running. I tell you, I was the best shape I was the best shape. I mean, the heaviest pack I would carry would be at 65 pounds. And, I think we did like maybe a 6-mile march. I mean, it was, looking back, probably one of the best times of my life. At the moment, I was like, what did I sign up for? So I did 10 years of that and really enjoyed it. I really like to feel 84. I love the relationship with the Marines. And when we were in Desert Storm, I was with the Amtrak unit out of Mississippi. I was a corpsman with them. Great guys. I mean, great experience. I learned a lot about myself. I tell you what, I can't shoot. I mean, I remember, I think it was a staff sergeant or the chief warrant officer. All right, Doc, you look like you suck at shooting. Get up to the line. You're just going to keep shooting until you get better. And I eventually got better by the end of the day. Because shooting is something you practice, and the weekends as 8404, we didn't practice as much, and you had to qualify. And we didn't really practice shooting in boot camp to qualify. No excuses, you just got to practice. So the other thing too is, we want to share tips, resources, ideas, connections, recommendations to help next business owners succeed. I usually will give a reference to a book that I've used or an association, something that can benefit them. And the last important thing is, I do this because I want to be the go-to guy, for business networking. I have a expertise in business networking, referrals, and relationships. Growing, scaling existing businesses, that's what I work with in the space now. And if I don't have the answers, I have a team of people I go to. I belong to certain key organizations called the Exit Planning Institute, Maps Business Coaching. Then it talks about imposter syndrome for founders, successors of high-growth family-owned businesses. I'm among the Positive Intelligence, which is really a tool to help you work with your mindset. So I have the resources, the people, and the desire just to really help my clients. And if people don't know, I'm a giver, I'm a connector. Some people say I'm a strategist. I'm really good at developing strategy. And I just want to be that go-to guy in our market for people who literally, it's interesting, I go do networking events and, I'm just, a pretty quiet guy, pretty low key, and they start talking about business. They're like, wow, Arnel, you know your stuff. You got 25 plus years. You've seen it all. I mean, either you've done it, you've got clients doing it, you experience it, good and bad and different. Or if you haven't done it and there's a challenge, you can always go to resources, not just ChatGPT, but resources that you can actually talk to people. So for question 2, people were asking, what did you work last week with a business owner? So we've been working with a business owner on what we call, how to give feedback. And so we use a tool, not a tool, but we use a model or framework from a young lady named Susan Scott. She wrote a book on fierce conversation. So what I want to do is if you, this is really good. There's an interview that she had with Jeff Woods, who used to be previously with The One Thing. And it talks about how to have fierce conversations that get extraordinary results. You can look at here on The One Thing. And it's probably close to an hour, but it's really a powerful podcast because it talks about you. It's interesting. She said that you win one conversation at a time. What you win now affects your future. And one of the hardest things is giving feedback, or just letting people know where they stand. And most people, what they'll do is owners either do 2 things, depending on their disc profile. A lot of times owners are risk averse, they hate conflict, so they don't give feedback, but damn sure they will complain on people. So one of the things I say, hey, have you talked to the person? No, I didn't talk to them. Okay, is it I don't want to, I don't know how? It's an element I don't want to, but usually a lot of it's I don't how. So I had a client recently. I said, okay, I'm going to send you this link to this podcast. I want you to listen to it. Then I'm going to give you an executive summary, and we're going to write this out. And we're going to figure out what you have to say to this person. So we want you to develop, what is it? Gary Keller talks about, he calls it a model. I call it a framework. And Fierce Conversation has the best framework I've seen because it's pretty simple. You just have to use it more often. So I encourage you to look up this. It's in The One Thing. Great podcast. This will give you an idea of the interview, what she does. She tells a couple stories. It really does help you get an understanding of the next thing I'll take you to. I have summaries, and we'll go over that. So Fierce Conversation, I have the summary here, and it's from SoundView Exit Summaries. If you ever wanted to get a copy of this, just DM me on Facebook or LinkedIn. Say, hey, Arnel, can you send me that summary on Fierce Conversation? I can send it to you. So, the 7 principle Fierce Conversation is really simple. It's master courage, come out from behind, be here prepared, attack your tough challenges, obey your instincts, take responsibility for your emotional wake. I mean, yeah, and that's it's you. And then let silence do the heavy lifting. So we're going to go right to the framework. So, when I have clients have to give feedback, I said I send them the podcast, a link to the positive list, and then I send them the summary. And we really focus on this right here, the opening statement. So it's basically, and she says you have to have 60 seconds to do it all. Yeah, you can. I mean, when you listen to podcasts, it's pretty simple. And what I usually tell people to do is to write down what you're going to say, so you have some type of flow, So for example, and it helps you develop bullet points. So look at it. It says, number 1, name the issue. Select a specific example that illustrates the behavior or situation and the negative results it's creating. Describe your emotions about the issue. Clarify what is at stake if nothing changes. Identify your contribution to this problem and indicate your wish to resolve it, and then invite your partner to respond. So you can be a partner, it could be a coworker, it could be the boss, it could be your supervisor, your manager. So you use this part of the framework, and then it talks about the interaction phase, and see how it says right here, invite the partner to respond. It's the interaction phase. This is where the confrontation model is. This is where it can, where most people hate this experience. And it can be uncomfortable. A lot of times it is, because, some people can yell at you and get really upset with you, So, and a lot of times what you have to say, and I was listening to the podcast, was, well, tell me more about this. What's going on? So you're just really asking them, right? And then from there, you're not gonna jump back and defend your position, right? What you're gonna finally know is let your partner know, hey, I really understand. Okay, now I understand what's going on. Here is where we need to go, right? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Tell me more. Right? Here's where we need to go. And then the resolution is through the interaction phase of the confrontation. This is where your learning is provoked and the relationship is enriched. So this next time to come with an agreement. So here's where we need to go. I need you to do this, because it does this. So, and then, and basically you say, so you say, what have we learned? Where are we now? Has anything been left unsaid that needs to be saying? So you get it all cleared out. What's needed for this resolution? What do you think is needed this relation? This is what I need, right? And how can we move forward here and giving this new understanding? And can we have an agreement? And then that we're going to hold each other accountable. And a lot of times what happens is, this is depending on the situation. Like if you have somebody who's just making mistakes, you're going to go a little bit deeper into, here's what I need you to do. Can you let me know what are the reasons you chose this? Let me share. Here's what I need you to do, and here's the reasons that I need you to do this. Right? What do you think? Okay, is there anything you need to say, or is there an understanding? Do you have an understanding? The reasons I chose this, and that. Like, okay. And moving forward, do we agree you're going to do this? Okay, I need you to do this first, because if this is working, this helps, because I made a ton of mistakes. This needs to work like that. Do we have a clear understanding? Okay, let's make an agreement going forward. Let's do this for a while. If you're not sure, do it, then come back to me and say, hey, I don't understand. Is that okay? Explain it to me. So what happens is you really, if you look at this framework here, name the issue here, and you go into the resolution, and when you listen to the podcast, it really helps you formalize the process, the framework, so you can talk to this. So, like I have people all the time, I say, hey, look, I'll go to them and I'll say something like this. Hey, I got to ask you an uncomfortable question. And he's like, okay, well, I've noticed that. So I noticed you are coming in late, and I just need to know what's really going on, because it does bother me that you've been inconsistently being late, and you don't really say anything, and I just need to know what's really going on, and and I haven't said anything for the last couple of times, but I noticed the pattern has got late, come a little bit early, late. And I've been watching how the employees look at it, and I'm concerned that it's going to perpetuate them to come in late, and then we start this precedent of everybody starting late. So, well, can you tell me what's going on? And so the person must say, well, this person's not doing this because I have had this and that. Well, what do you think you have to do to get here early? What do you think you have to do beforehand, or do you think this is going to affect the business or how the people see it? And depending on how the person answers, say, well, no. So, well, let me ask you a question. If you see 7 people late, if you weren't the person, you saw somebody come in late 6, 7 times, would you think you could be late? Yeah, I would. That's what I need you to realize, that it does affect people. It does not work well, and I need to let you know that going forward, you, can we agree that you're going to, leave a little bit early to get here, and show up on time, so that other people don't get the wrong impression. And then the other thing too, it 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 doesn't help any and everybody. I think you can do this, right? Yeah, I can. Okay, can we go ahead and give it a shot? So, can we start tomorrow? Yeah, okay, great. So let's go ahead and start tomorrow, and because we time clock and all that, and let's say you start tomorrow, and I know you can do this. You can get better and better at that. Will that be all right? So, and it says right here, it's like, we're this type of feedback is about practice, and it's an uncomfortable awareness to practice, and you really have to have the courage and skill to do it. And so it's very uncomfortable because it's not done often enough. But when you listen to the podcast, it's really interesting. She said that at the end of the day, it's that if someone's complaining, you got to go and say, okay, you need to go to them and work it out. So as the owner, and you have people who are not performing or not doing well, or not following instructions, or not doing better, you got to go to them. Because what I've noticed, if you don't go to them when you listen to the podcast, you eventually just build a resentment, frustration, and then eventually what happens, you will literally, I've seen this, you will literally just think the person's an idiot, they don't do a good job. But did you progressively give them feedback so you can improve? Because what I've realized, that most people, unless they're just not talented in that role and they're not very good at it, they will improve. Because if they have a strong work ethic, they're a stakeholder, they just want to get better. But they can't get better if they're not giving feedback. And the owner or the manager, the business professional, is not comfortable doing that. And then what happens is it just builds up. It just gets very, very, very frustrating. And then you avoid the person, and then when they think you're okay with them, it just crashes down. Now, I know this is the podcast you listen to. This is the summary. This is the framework here. Then he also has in the summary here, it has like, if you want to interrogate, it's like it has this thing about here about, let's see, it's right here. Has this thing right here. It talks about, you want to interrogate someone's, they call it the mineral rights. You want to see where people are at, So here's another way, what's the important thing we need to be talking about today? What's the current results in creating? If nothing changed, what's going to likely happen? What are your footprints and what are your fingerprints on them? What are you involved in? What kind of ideal and what's the next potent step you need to take? So, interesting thing. This is a pretty good framework too, and somewhat of helping the person figure out what their role is, right? Where their role is. That's one way. This one right here is really when you got to, this one right here is about when you got to give them feedback. This one's about the feedback, right? This is the one about if what do we need? What's the most important thing we should be talking about? And then that is something where I use this framework sometimes in coaching, because sometimes people, and you have to ask clients what they want to work on. I usually use this framework. And then if you're ever interested in the book, you can get it off Amazon. It's called Fierce Conversations, Achieve Success at Work and Life, One Conversation at a Time. Paperback. It's Susan Scott. She has great stories in it. And she says, you just got to practice. And I agree. So that's the book. And that's, again, the summary of the podcast. And it's asking, what's the blind spot? The blind spot is if you don't give feedback to help people become better or help people succeed, then what happens is that you're just going to both fail each other, meaning that you're failing them by not giving feedback. And some people, they can, here's what I've noticed, they sense they're messing up, but they don't say anything and they keep it themselves. And then sometimes they realize I should have said something, and a lot of times they should. But then the owner or the manager or the person who is the leader, because of that role, or if they earn it, or they just got a title, but they don't know how to give feedback. What they end up doing is they don't help the business, themselves, or the person who's working with them become better, and help them with their role, because they're afraid, they're fearful of what they're going to say and how they say it. And so this is an area that we have to be very good at, because people want to help, people want to do better. And if they don't want to do better after you have multiple conversations of using fierce conversation with people, then that tells you you most likely have the wrong person in the wrong role, and they're just messing up the processes. And if you do this fierce conversation, what you'll find out is that people will get better and better and better, take ownership, and they will self-discover how to work through this. Because if they have to work with people with them, or they have to supervise, they can just follow the same process you follow, right? So let's talk about the second one, which is I was working with a business owner about developing referrals by creating a power statement. So there's a gentleman named, let me put him right here. His name is Michael Weinberg. He created what they call the power statement, which is his sales story. Sales story, is it messaging, compelling, or repelling? So it's interesting. I actually love this, and I actually taught a class last year where we had a gentleman. We rewrote his power statement for Legal Shield, and when he gets up at the meetings, network meetings, and he gives it like a 60 seconds and does his power story on Legal Shield, he says, Arnel, people come to me during the meeting and after the networking introduction part, and I'm usually able, if they come to me, if say 4 people come to me, I'm able to close 3 out of 4, because what I say resonates with them and they want to do business with me. So we created this, and it's a really good, when you are networking, I call it the power statement. So, and he calls it a compelling sales story. So he says, like, their pains, when you create this, you have to create their pains that you're going to remove, the problems you solve, the opportunities that help you capture, and the new better results of outcome you should achieve. So it's in the book in chapter 8 of the New Sales Simplified. So I'm going to click this really quick. So if you ever want a great book on sales, he's got this book named, New Sales Simplified, Essential Handbook for Prospect and New Business Development. But what I like about it, and it's by Michael Weinberg, what I like about it, it goes back to this. He calls it the compelling sales story, which is the power statement. And when you are able to develop this power statement, it's amazing how people who are in your target market will come to you. Now, if you're in a room where you don't have the right target market, you probably, and you present well, then what happens is people may not be able to recognize that, just because the fact they're not in the right audience or the right people that actually know people like that. So I'm going to go ahead and play a quick video, and this is from over here. This is an interview with Mike Weinberg. So let's go and play it right now.
Trick when it comes to telling our story or positioning ourselves as a seller is really simple. We have got to stop leading with stuff about ourselves, our agency, our carriers, our lines, our history, and we need to lead in with stuff that's on the customer's mind. Because the reality is, they don't really give a crap what you do or how much you love your agency or your carrier or
That's
your
true.
lines or how great you think you are. What they want to know is what's in it for them. Like, let's just be honest. That's what gets attention. That's what gets their defenses to come down. And I did this subtly a few times when I was giving the example earlier. I'm going to be a little more obtuse about it right now.
Okay.
There's a very simple trick I have. I call it a bridge line. And it's the way you begin your messaging. And whether it's a phone call, an email, a conversation over a coffee, you basically begin the message, the story, the conversation by giving yourself a third-party endorsement. Instead of saying, we do this, we're so great, we're so big, we have this many brokers, here's the lines we represent. You say, you know what? A lot of, plug in the type of company, a lot of contractors are looking to us when, or I'm hearing from a lot of CFOs, or I'm helping a lot of companies who, any of those are little bridge lines.
Yeah.
And if you start your story, your message with some version of that, and I'll repeat them again later, whatever you say next is going to be good because it stops you from saying, we're so big, we're so great. I'll do it like I did before. Hey, I'm hearing from a lot of CFOs. They're really struggling with issue A, and they're under pressure to achieve result B.
It's immediate credibility.
Because you're saying, I'm helping people like you, or I'm in conversations with other CFOs or contractors or dental offices, or plug in the type of prospect that your broker's calling on. And you're basically telling them, listen, other guys are coming to me because they're really frustrated with A, they're desperate to get over liability C, they're not sleeping because of D, and they want to achieve E. You got any of that going on? We should visit for a minute. And all of a sudden, not only do the defenses come down and the resistance goes away, but they're like, wait a second. You help people like that and organizations like mine with those challenges? I got those. I want those results. Let's talk.
So that is an example of the power statement. So if you put in YouTube, excuse me, how to tell a sales story, you'll find Mike Weinberg. He's got a couple of different versions of this that he breaks it down. Now, the amazing thing about this is you can do it for different target markets. But what's most important about this that I think it's phenomenal is, I remember I was reading a statement. People buy emotion. They don't buy the how. They buy the emotion. They buy emotion. So if you share the pains, right, first, then the problems you solve, then you follow the opportunities, the better results. You'll be so amazed how people will come to you. Like I go to a bunch of network events, and people say, I know I'm a bookkeeper, I'm an accountant, I'm a financial advisor, and you just have the courage to do this. Now I've gotten better over the last couple months, and I've had people come to me and say, hey, that's pretty cool. You do that, you really help business owners. So the idea is, and the reason I bring this up is, if you can create your power statement for your niche or niches you already know you want to experiment. The challenge is that if you don't do that, then you don't stand out. People already assume you're like this. Like if you say I'm a car salesperson, in their mind, if they had a bad experience, they're going, oh, he's one of those guys, But if you say, hey, here's the problems we solve, so-and-so seeks me out because of the problem they solve, you'd be amazed. Now, the blind spot is that sometimes people don't know what they don't know. And the blind spot is the power statement gives you power to draw people in. Without that, I'm going to tell you, you're not standing out. And how you resolve it is, you look at the power statement on YouTube, you can get the book, get chapter 8, you can type it in. I mean, I even have some documents where we've worked with some people on it, and it's very powerful. And the outcome is that, imagine if you go to a networking event, professional, personal, and people ask you this, and you say your power statement, and people are like, wow, that's amazing. Wow, I may know some people for you. So it automatically triggers a possibility for a referral, a favorable introduction. So I encourage people, when they call it the elevator speech. I just think this is far better than the elevator speech, because it can lead. Elevator speeches are usually designed to, when you're pitching somebody quickly in the elevator to get funding, the unique selling proposition is what value you bring, right? I just think the power statement is more powerful because it talks specifically to the people you want to get in front of. It resonates with them because it has emotion around the pain or challenges, and then how you solve the problem. And that's really not how you solve the problem, it's the outcome they'll get from working with you. And that I've seen in the last couple years, it will literally draw people to you. So we also talk about what's another good resource, that I talked about. I already showed you the book, that fierce conversation, giving feedback. So, and the reason I recommend it, we're in a business owners, business professionals are in the business to influence people. And if you're managing, I hope you're not as managing. That managing means you just tell people to do. I hope you're more in the leadership role. You're influencing them. The way to influence them, you have to give them feedback so that they can improve. And if they can improve, they can eventually become a leader. So you're actually training leaders. You're training people to be leaders, not just managers. And how you can access resources, go on Amazon, and buy the book, listen to the podcast. If you want the summary, you can get it from me. And the last thing I want to let you know, here's a quick quote that from Susan Scott. Remember that what gets talked about and how it gets talked about determines what will happen. So let me say that. Remember that what gets talked about and how it gets talked about determine what will happen or won't happen. That's true. And that we succeed or fail gradually, then suddenly, one conversation at a time. So her quote is basically, we're going to win or fail on one quote at a time. Either we're going to talk about it so it's out in the open, or we won't. And if we won't, we're going to fail. Meaning that we are the person that we don't say will fail. If we're part of it, if we own a business, it's going to eventually fail. If it's the marriage or dating, it's going to fail. So it's really powerful. So, I'm going to always give a call to action. So if you need any help in your business around helping you create this feedback loop, help you create the power statement, helping you really practice or role play around fierce conversation, or anything related to business you're not really sure of, you can always reach out to me, ask me questions. And if I'm not the right resource, I'll give it to you. And I always tell people, look, I don't know if I'm the right fit for you. Number one, I need to determine, are you going to invest time, money, and resources to resolve the challenge? And if you are, then the next step is, am my company the right resource for you and what you need? If not, I will do my best to put you in front of somebody who can help you if you're willing to invest time, money, and resources. And most people I find out that I've talked to, most people like the idea of getting help, more free help, but free help doesn't mean it's the right help. I mean, everybody can go on Google and do that, but I always tell people, yeah, you can pick a little nugget or two and kind of work at it at your own pace, but the outcome may take years for you to get what you want. If you have some type of, if you have some type of support like a coach with some level of accountability, and sometimes the level needs to be higher because if you have big goals, you'll start seeing the outcome and the process of getting where to your goal quicker and faster. So again, I want to thank you for listening and watching this vlog of the Arnel. We'll have one coming out the following week. So we appreciate you and forward it, and we'll look forward to the next episode. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. And lastly, if you have a friend, family, or business associate you think this will benefit, send them a link. All right. Thank you again. Thanks for your time. I hope this was helpful. All right. Bye.